Hello everybody and welcome back to the Fortress of Solitude. Today we're going to be checking out Blood Hunt issue 2 by Jed MacKay and Pepe Larraz. Blade's vampiric takeover of Earth continues as the Daywalker, now having turned Black Panther, sends him on a mission to find something mysterious, while the Bloodcoven are sent after his daughter, Brielle, who meanwhile is battling vampires alongside Dracula, a story which began in the Dracula tie-in to the event. This issue really made it clear which tie-ins you should and shouldn't be reading, and some of which are mandatory, like the Dracula one, the Avengers one, and the Doctor Strange one. Luckily I read 2 out of 3 of those, so it's pretty easy to keep track of what's going on, and even without that one, you don't really need to read the Dracula one, you just need to know that these two people are working together and the Blood Hunt is hunting them. That's what we get in this issue. I'm actually surprised at how much these tie-ins end up mattering in some way, especially the Doctor Strange and Avengers ones, as we pick up with Tigra, Hunter's Moon, and Miles as they band together and head for the Sanctum Sanctorum, ready to appear at the end of the last Doctor Strange issue where Strange became a vampire and his astral form is separated from his body. Meanwhile, the Avengers, or what's left of them, and a different team than the one Captain America is using over in the Avengers tie-in, gather to help Blade's daughter and Dracula, going toe-to-toe with the Bloodcoven for a second round. This is where things get kind of interesting for me, since, as I said in my review for the first issue, MacKay is retreading some common ground here when it comes to setting up his villains. In previous Avengers stories, specifically the first arc of his book, The Impossible City, he has, a group of villains come in and they're sort of like the mirror to the Avengers. Each one has, a corresponding Avenger. They fight them, they end up beating the Avengers, and the Avengers have to go through the story in order to come back up and beat them again. But here he kind of upends that as the Avengers meet the Bloodcoven in battle again and just wipe the floor with them, culminating with Captain Marvel blasting through the darkness shield around Earth and allowing Sun to come back through. Although it's not really made clear whether that actually gets rid of the shield or whether that just puts a big crack in it above New York. The villains, of course, escape, and there's a great line from Bloodstorm 1 where he does the whole, fist shaking, we'll get you next time Avengers thing, which I thought was quite cool. And I like how these villains are kind of hammy. This has been sort of a running thing with them, especially in that first issue and then this issue. Their dialogue has not been very formal. Like, you would think that these, age-old vampires would be quite refined and whatnot, but I like that they are making kind of jokes or have kind of hammy dialogue like that, and it kind of goes against the type you would expect of them. Captain Marvel bringing back the sun also led to one of the hardest lines in the book, and that's, as Avengers, they will always make sure the sun will rise again. This line is aided by Pepe Larraz's stunning visuals of the Avengers, including Brielle and Dracula, who are now on this team, which is quite a sight to see. And I love the page that this line is set on, because it's just the Avengers bathed in sunlight against a horde of vampires. It's such a cool visual in a book already filled with so many cool visuals. The Avengers, Dracula and Brielle all decide they need to regroup with the others in order to fight back against the vampiric horde and take back the Impossible City from Blade and the Bloodcoven, so they decide to head to Greenwich Village to see Doctor Strange. And by the end of the book, it's revealed that Miles is a vampire. Kind of obvious, being that he was one of the first people that Blade got to in that first issue. We kind of saw him meeting with Blade and we didn't see the end of their conversation, and then Blade turned out to be a bad guy. And I am surprised it was revealed so early on and wasn't something that was dragged out, but kudos for Jed for doing that, and I'm looking forward to seeing what that means for Miles and the team now. Is he truly a villain because he was seemingly working with the Avengers just a few pages before and then he turned once Brielle turned up? Or what's his deal? And will this mean also that we might get a Doctor Strange situation where Miles's astral projection form is taken from his body and kind of separated out from his body so he can survive? Again, I'm really looking forward to seeing what exactly they're going to do with this, because that was something I was sure they were going to drag out and weren't going to get until the end of Act 2, the big betrayal of the team. So for it to happen just 2 issues in is quite surprising to me. So I'm looking forward to seeing where Jed takes this story now. Bloodhunt issue 2 continued the big action and spectacle and had a surprising number of connections to some of the tie-ins, specifically the ones Jed MacKay is writing. And while the story isn't propelled forward in any huge way, or we're not giving any really big huge leaps in the story plot regarding Blade and what he wants as an endgame, there is one cliffhanger that actually left me quite surprised that they were getting to that so early on and going against how those type of reveals usually happen. So if they keep that up, I'm looking forward to seeing how they dole out pieces of this story and whether it's going to be more traditional, set story structure, or whether they're just going to keep upending the story and do things kind of out of order for a little bit and keep us on the edge of our seats. I'm going to give this issue a 7.5 out of 10.